What if I told you that one of the most powerful hair-saving compounds in the world is something millions of people already drink every day, but almost no one is using it correctly for hair growth? And the difference between it helping your hair and doing absolutely nothing comes down to one simple addition. Today, I want to talk about green tea, not just as a drink, but as a powerful tool that can help stop hair loss, protect your follicles, and create the ideal environment for stronger, thicker hair. Hair loss doesn't happen randomly. Your hair follicles are extremely sensitive structures. They respond to inflammation, hormones, blood flow, and oxidative stress. And one of the biggest hidden enemies of your hair follicles is something called DHT. This is a hormone derived from testosterone. DHT binds to receptors in the scalp and slowly shrinks the hair follicle. As the follicle shrinks, the hair becomes thinner, weaker, and eventually stops growing altogether. Now, here's where green tea becomes incredibly powerful. Green tea contains a compound called EGCG, which stands for epigallocatechin gallate. This is one of the most studied natural compounds when it comes to protecting hair follicles. EGCG helps block the enzyme that converts testosterone into DHT. This is critical because if you reduce DHT at the scalp, you reduce the signal that tells the follicle to shrink. But that's only one part of the story. EGCG also protects the follicle from oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is essentially damage caused by unstable molecules called free radicals. These free radicals attack the cells in your follicle, weaken them, and accelerate aging. When your follicles age faster, your hair becomes thinner faster. Green tea acts like a shield. It neutralizes those damaging molecules and protects the follicle's structure. But there's something even more important. Your hair follicle is one of the most metabolically active structures in your body. It needs a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients, and that depends entirely on blood flow. If circulation to the scalp is reduced, the follicle becomes weak and dormant. EGCG improves circulation. It helps relax blood vessels and improves the delivery of oxygen and nutrients directly to the follicle. This helps reactivate weakened follicles and support stronger growth. Now, here's the mistake most people make. They drink green tea, but they don't activate its full potential. There's one simple addition that dramatically increases its effectiveness, and that addition is vitamin C. When you add vitamin C, like fresh lemon juice, to green tea, it stabilizes EGCG and increases its absorption. Without vitamin C, a significant portion of EGCG gets destroyed during digestion. But when vitamin C is present, it protects EGCG and helps your body absorb much more of it. This means more of the hair protective compounds actually reach your bloodstream in your scalp. This simple step can dramatically increase the effectiveness of green tea for hair health, but there's another powerful benefit most people don't realize. Inflammation is one of the biggest hidden causes of hair loss. Chronic inflammation slowly damages the follicle environment. It disrupts the growth cycle and pushes hairs into the shedding phase. Green tea is one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory substances. It calms the immune response and protects the follicle from inflammatory damage. This creates a healthier scalp environment where hair can grow stronger and thicker. Green tea also improves insulin sensitivity. This is extremely important because insulin resistance is strongly linked to hair loss. When insulin is elevated, it increases androgen activity, including DHT. This accelerates follicle shrinkage. By improving insulin sensitivity, green tea helps reduce this hormonal stress on your follicles. But there's another powerful way to use green tea that most people overlook: topical application. When green tea is applied directly to the scalp, EGCG can penetrate the follicle environment and work locally. It helps reduce inflammation around the follicle, improve circulation, and block DHT directly at the scalp level. This creates a direct protective effect. Many people notice reduced shedding and stronger hair when using green tea both internally and externally. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside your follicle when green tea begins working. Hair grows in cycles. There's a growth phase called anagen, there's a resting phase, and there's a shedding phase. In hair loss conditions, follicles spend less time in the growth phase and more time in the resting and shedding phases. Green tea helps extend the growth phase. This means your hair grows longer, thicker, and stronger. It Also helps reactivate follicles that have become dormant. Dormant follicles are not dead. They are simply inactive. When circulation improves, inflammation decreases, and DHT is reduced, these follicles can begin producing hair again. Another important factor is mitochondrial health. Your follicles contain mitochondria, which are like energy factories. These mitochondria produce the energy required for hair growth. When mitochondria are damaged, hair growth slows or stops. EGCG protects mitochondrial function. This ensures follicles have the energy they need to produce strong hair fibers. Green tea also supports collagen preservation. Collagen surrounds and supports the follicle structure. When collagen breaks down, the follicle becomes weaker and less stable. The antioxidants in green tea help preserve collagen and protect the structural integrity of your follicles. Now, here's something very important. Consistency is key. Hair growth is slow. The follicle cycle takes months, not days. But when you consistently provide the follicle with protection, improved circulation, and reduced inflammation, you gradually shift the environment in favor of growth. Over time, shedding decreases, hair becomes thicker, follicles become stronger. Another benefit of green tea is its effect on scalp health. Many people with hair loss have scalp inflammation, tightness, or poor circulation. Green tea helps calm the scalp and improve its overall condition. A healthy scalp is essential for healthy hair growth. Think of your scalp like soil. If the soil is inflamed, damaged, and poorly nourished, plants cannot grow properly. But when the soil is healthy, growth becomes easier and stronger. Green tea helps create healthy soil for your hair. There's also an anti-aging effect. Hair follicles age like the rest of your body. Oxidative stress accelerates this aging. Green tea slows this process and helps preserve follicle function longer. This means healthier hair for a longer period of time. Now, here's the transformation most people experience when using green tea correctly. First, shedding begins to slow. Then, hair texture improves. Hair feels stronger. It becomes less brittle. Over time, density improves. And the key is creating the right environment, reducing DHT, reducing inflammation, improving circulation, protecting mitochondria, preserving collagen. Green tea supports all of these mechanisms. And when you add vitamin C, like lemon, you dramatically increase its power. This simple combination becomes one of the most effective natural strategies for protecting your hair follicles. Your follicles are not helpless. They respond to signals. When you provide protective signals, they survive. When you remove damaging signals, they recover. And when you consistently support them, they grow stronger hair. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones. Green tea is not just a drink. It's a follicle-protecting, inflammation-reducing, circulation-improving tool that helps create the ideal environment for hair growth. And when you use it the right way, with the right addition, you unlock its full potential. Your follicles respond, your scalp improves, and your hair becomes stronger from the root. Let's go deeper into what's really happening with your hair, because if you understand this one mechanism, everything about hair loss starts to make sense. When we talk about hair thinning, especially in men and even in many women, we're usually talking about a hormone called DHT. DHT stands for dihydrotestosterone. It's derived from testosterone. Now, testosterone itself is not the enemy. Your body needs it. But when testosterone is converted into DHT by an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase, that's when problems begin, especially for your scalp. Here's what happens. Your hair follicles contain receptors. Think of these like tiny locks. Hormones are like keys. When DHT binds to receptors in the scalp, particularly in genetically sensitive areas, it sends a signal to the follicle to shrink. This process is called miniaturization. Miniaturization doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual. First, thick terminal hairs start becoming slightly thinner. Then they grow back shorter. Then they become softer, finer, almost like baby hair. Eventually, the follicle becomes so small and weak that it can no longer produce visible hair. That's what most people call male or female pattern hair loss. Now, here's the critical question. Can you interrupt this process naturally? This is where green tea becomes incredibly powerful. Green tea contains a compound called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate. This compound has been studied extensively for its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. But what most people don't realize is that EGCG can inhibit the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. Remember that enzyme? That's the one responsible for converting testosterone into DHT. If you reduce the activity of that enzyme, you reduce the production of DHT. Less DHT means less binding to follicle receptors, less bindin. G means less miniaturization, and that means your follicles stay larger, stronger, and more active. Now think about this. Many pharmaceutical hair loss treatments work by targeting DHT. Their entire mechanism is based on lowering DHT levels. But green tea contains a natural compound that supports the same pathway without aggressively shutting down your hormones. That's powerful. But there's something even more interesting. DHT doesn't just shrink follicles, it also triggers inflammation around the follicle. When DHT binds to the receptor, it creates a cascade of inflammatory signals. This inflammation damages the surrounding tissue and restricts blood flow. So now you have a double problem. The follicle is shrinking and its environment is becoming hostile. EGCG helps calm this inflammatory cascade. It reduces inflammatory cytokines. These are chemical messengers that promote tissue damage. By lowering inflammation, green tea protects the microenvironment around the follicle. And this microenvironment is everything. Your hair follicle is not just a strand sticking out of your head. It's a complex mini organ. It has a blood supply, stem cells, oil glands, and immune interactions. If the environment becomes inflamed and constricted, the follicle suffers. Green tea helps maintain a healthier environment so the follicle can function properly. Now let's go even deeper. DHT sensitivity is often worse in people who have high levels of oxidative stress. Oxidative stress increases the sensitivity of androgen receptors. That means even small amounts of DHT can cause exaggerated damage. Oxidative stress comes from many sources: poor diet, high sugar intake, processed seed oils, environmental toxins, smoking, chronic stress. Free radicals damage cells, including the dermal papilla cells at the base of your hair follicle. These dermal papilla cells are responsible for controlling hair growth cycles. When they're damaged, hair growth shortens. EGCG is a powerful antioxidant. It neutralizes free radicals and protects dermal papilla cells from damage. This protection makes follicles more resilient against DHT. So not only does green tea help reduce DHT production, it also reduces the follicle's sensitivity to DHT. That's a double layer of protection. Now let's talk about the growth cycle. Your hair grows in 3 main phases: anagen, catagen, and telogen. Anagen is the growth phase. This is when your hair is actively growing. For scalp hair, this phase can last several years. Catagen is the transition phase. Telogen is the resting phase, followed by shedding. When DHT levels are high, the anagen phase becomes shorter. Hair doesn't grow as long or as thick. It quickly transitions into resting and shedding. EGCG has been shown to help prolong the anagen phase. This means hair stays in the growth phase longer. Longer growth phase equals thicker, fuller hair over time. Now imagine combining these effects: reduced DHT production, reduced inflammation, reduced oxidative stress, prolonged growth phase. This is not a small effect. This is a comprehensive support system for your follicles. And there's more. DHT can also impair blood flow around the follicle by increasing vascular constriction. When blood vessels tighten, oxygen and nutrients decrease. Hair follicles are highly energy-dependent structures. They divide rapidly. They require constant nutrient delivery. If blood flow is compromised, growth slows. EGCG improves endothelial function, the health of the lining of your blood vessels. It helps relax blood vessels, improving circulation. Better circulation means more oxygen, more amino acids, more vitamins reaching the follicle. This supports stronger hair fiber production. Now let's address something important. Some people think hair loss is purely genetic and nothing can be done. Genetics may determine sensitivity, but environment determines expression. If you reduce DHT impact and improve follicle health, you can dramatically slow or even partially reverse miniaturization in many cases. Follicles that are dormant are not necessarily dead. They are miniaturized. There's a difference. A miniaturized follicle can potentially regain function if the environment improves. Green tea helps improve that environment. Let's also talk about scalp fibrosis. Chronic DHT exposure can lead to tightening and thickening of the scalp tissue. This reduces flexibility and further restricts blood flow. It's like the soil around a plant becoming hard and compacted. EGCG has anti-fibrotic properties. It helps reduce excessive tissue buildup and supports healthier connective tissue structure. This keeps the soil around your follicles softer and more supportive. Now, here's where most people make a mistake. They drink green tea occasionally and expect miracles. Hair biology doesn't work that way. Hair cycles are slow. Miniaturization happens gradually, so recovery is gradual. Consistency matters. When you consistently lower DHT stress and inflammation, follicles have time to recover. Shedding begins to decrease. Hair texture improves. New growth may appear finer at first, then gradually thicken over time. Another important factor is insulin. High insulin levels increase androgen activity. Insulin resistance often leads to higher DHT activity in the scalp. Green tea improves insulin sensitivity. This indirectly lowers androgen stress on the follicle. So now you're not just targeting DHT directly, you're improving the hormonal environment overall. Let's connect all of this. DHT shrinks follicles. EGCG inhibits 5-alpha reductase. Less enzyme activity means less DHT. Less DHT means less receptor binding. Less receptor binding means less inflammation and miniaturization. At the same time, EGCG reduces oxidative stress. It improves circulation. It supports mitochondrial energy production. It helps prolong the anagen phase. This creates a protective shield around your follicles. And here's something very important. Green tea doesn't eliminate testosterone. It doesn't destroy your hormones. It gently modulates the pathway. Your body remains balanced. Now imagine pairing green tea internally with topical application. When applied to the scalp, EGCG can act locally. It can reduce DHT activity directly at the follicle site. This dual approach, internal and external RNAL, can amplify the effect. But there's still one missing piece that dramatically increases green tea's power. Most of the EGCG in green tea is unstable during digestion. It degrades quickly. If you add vitamin C, like fresh lemon juice, it stabilizes EGCG and increases its bioavailability. That means more active compound enters your bloodstream. More active compound reaches your scalp. This small addition can significantly enhance results. Now, let's talk about expectations. Green tea is not a magic overnight cure, but it addresses the root cause, DHT-driven miniaturization. When you address the root cause, you change the trajectory. Instead of progressive thinning, you create stabilization. Instead of weakening follicles, you create resilience. Over time, resilience translates into visible improvement. And remember, your follicles are living tissue. They respond to signals. When the signal is inflammation and DHT overload, they shrink. When the signal is protection, oxygenation, and hormonal balance, they thrive. Green tea shifts the signal. It tells your follicles, you are safe, you can grow. And that shift is powerful. If you're serious about protecting your hair, you must focus on the biology, not just cosmetics. Shampoos don't change DHT. Styling products don't change miniaturization. But influencing internal pathways does. Green tea works at the cellular level. It works at the hormonal level. It works at the vascular level. That's why it's so powerful. When you combine consistent intake, proper absorption with vitamin C, and support for overall metabolic health, you create a strong anti-DHT strategy. And that strategy supports thicker, healthier hair. This is about protecting your follicles before they cross the point of no return. Miniaturized follicles can recover. Dead follicles cannot. The earlier you reduce DHT stress, the better your outcome. So the transformation begins not with a miracle product, but with understanding the root cause and supporting your body naturally. Green tea is simple, accessible, affordable, and when used correctly, it becomes a powerful ally in stopping follicle shrinkage and preserving your hair density. Your follicles are constantly listening to hormonal signals. Green tea helps quiet the destructive ones. And when you quiet DHT-driven miniaturization, you give your hair a real chance to grow stronger again. There's one major reason hair follicles stop producing strong, thick hair that most people never consider. It's not just hormones, it's not just genetics, it's inflammation and poor circulation silently damaging the follicle environment. You can have all the nutrients in your diet, but if they're not reaching the follicle, hair cannot grow properly. And if the follicle is surrounded by inflammation, it enters a defensive state. It slows down growth. It shortens the growth phase. And eventually, it shuts down. This is where green tea becomes incredibly powerful, because it addresses both of these root problems at the same time. It reduces inflammation and it improves circulation. Let's start with inflammation. Inflammation is your body's natural defense mechanism. When you get injured, inflammation helps with healing. But when inflammation becomes chronic, it becomes destructive. Chronic inflammation around the hair follicle damages the dermal papilla. This is the control center at the base of the follicle. It regulates hair growth, hair thickness, and the hair cycle. When inflammation damages the dermal papilla, the follicle weakens, hair grows thinner, the growth phase shortens, shedding increases. Over time, the follicle becomes dormant. Now, here's what causes chronic scalp inflammation: high DHT levels, insulin resistance, poor diet, especially high sugar and processed foods, oxidative stress, environmental toxins, poor circulation, stress hormones like cortisol. All of these factors create an inflammatory environment that suffocates the follicle. Green tea contains EGCG, one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds known. EGCG helps calm the inflammatory signals that damage the follicle. It reduces inflammatory messengers that attack follicle cells. It protects the dermal papilla. It helps restore balance to the scalp environment. When inflammation decreases, the follicle shifts from a defensive state into a growth state. This is critical because follicles cannot grow hair efficiently when they are inflamed. Now let's talk about circulation. Your hair follicle is alive. It requires oxygen, glucose, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. All of these are delivered through blood flow. If circulation is weak, the follicle becomes starved. Starved follicles become weak. Weak follicles produce weak hair. Eventually, they stop producing hair altogether. Poor circulation is extremely common, especially in areas where hair thinning occurs. The scalp becomes tighter, blood vessels become constricted, oxygen delivery decreases. Green tea helps improve circulation by supporting healthy blood vessel function. EGCG helps relax blood vessels, allowing more blood to flow freely. This improves oxygen delivery to the follicle. Oxygen is essential for cellular energy production. Without oxygen, follicle cells cannot produce strong hair fibers. Better circulation also delivers more nutrients to the follicle: amino acids, which are the building blocks of hair, vitamins that support growth, minerals that support cellular function. All of these reach the follicle more efficiently when circulation improves. Now, let's talk about dormant follicles. Dormant follicles are not dead. They are inactive. They are alive, but they are not producing visible hair. This happens when the follicle environment becomes hostile due to inflammation and poor blood flow. The follicle essentially shuts down to protect itself. But here's the powerful part. When you reduce inflammation and improve circulation, dormant follicles can reactivate. Green tea helps create the conditions required for reactivation. Reduced inflammation removes the damaging signals. Improved circulation restores oxygen and nutrient delivery. This tells the follicle it is safe to resume growth. Another important factor is mitochondrial health. Mitochondria produce energy inside follicle cells. Hair growth requires a tremendous amount of energy. Inflammation damages mitochondria. Poor circulation starves mitochondria of oxygen. EGCG protects mitochondria from oxidative damage. It helps preserve their ability to produce energy. This allows follicles to function efficiently. When follicles have enough energy, they can produce stronger, thicker hair. Green tea also helps reduce oxidative stress in the scalp. Oxidative stress damages proteins, lipids, and DNA inside follicle cells. This accelerates follicle aging. EGCG neutralizes free radicals. This protects follicle cells from premature aging. This helps preserve follicle function longer. Another important benefit is improved scalp flexibility. Chronic inflammation and poor circulation cause the scalp to become tight and less flexible. Tight scalp tissue restricts blood flow even further. EGCG helps reduce tissue stiffness by reducing inflammation and supporting healthy connective tissue. This improves the overall scalp environment. Now let's talk about the hair growth cycle. Hair grows in the anagen phase, rests in the telogen phase, and sheds. Inflammation pushes follicles out of the growth phase prematurely. This increases shedding. Green tea helps follicles stay in the growth phase longer. This allows hair to grow thicker and longer. It also reduces premature shedding. Over time, this improves hair density. Another important effect is immune regulation. Excessive immune activity can damage follicles. EGCG helps regulate immune responses. It reduces harmful immune overactivity while supporting healthy immune function. This protects follicles from immune-driven damage. Now let's connect everything. Inflammation damages follicles. Poor circulation starves follicles. Oxidative stress accelerates follicle aging. Mitochondrial damage reduces follicle energy. All of these factors contribute to hair loss. Green tea addresses each of these problems. It reduces inflammation. It improves circulation. It protects mitochondria. It reduces oxidative stress. It supports immune balance. This creates an environment where follicles can survive and thrive. Now let's talk about the visible transformation. When inflammation decreases, shedding slows. When circulation improves, follicles receive nutrients again. When mitochondria recover, follicles produce stronger hair. When follicles remain in the growth phase longer, hair becomes thicker. This process happens gradually. Hair cycles take time, but consistent support creates consistent improvement. Another important factor is scalp health. A healthy scalp supports healthy follicles. Green tea helps calm scalp irritation. It reduces redness and inflammation. It supports a healthier scalp environment. This improves follicle function. Green tea can also be applied topically. This allows EGCG to act directly at the follicle level. It reduces inflammation locally. It improves circulation locally. This enhances its protective effect. Using green tea both internally and externally creates a powerful combination. Now here's the key message. Hair loss is not just about losing hair. It's about losing follicle health. When follicles become inflamed and starved, they weaken. When follicles are protected and nourished, they grow stronger. Green tea helps restore follicle health. It removes damaging signals. It restores supportive signals. It helps dormant follicles wake up. It helps active follicles stay strong. And over time, this leads to healthier, thicker, more resilient hair. Your follicles are constantly responding to their environment. Green tea helps transform that environment from damaging to supportive. And when the environment improves, your follicles respond by producing stronger hair again.